entering a new era. The East African region has discovered commodities. Tanzania, I think, by the Times magazine a couple of months ago, was called the Saudi Arabia of gas, meaning that globally it probably has the largest gas reserves. So the wealth and the benefits that can come out of that for the Tanzanian economy are immense. And Uganda and Kenya have discovered oil. But all of these are not yet there. So what is creating this growth, which is in the region of 6–7% for the region, is really driven by the diversity of the economies. In particular, if I talk to the Kenyan economy, it doesn't have a dependency on any one area. I think that really the African region now as a whole looks upbeat because of the new paradigm that's come in, some less so than others. And the countries that were not commodity dependent for their revenues are obviously benefiting at this stage, and particularly if they've got diversified, stable macroeconomic environments. I think that there's an opportunity for everyone. I think that there's a huge growth potential across the African continent. You know, I was talking recently about the depth, the capacity of our businesses is still just touching the surface. There's so much more still to be done. And the growth in our population drives to huge markets being created into the future. I think the importance of this, though, is it's not the old way. There's a new way. They will be competing with the domestic players as well. I think in the past the entrance into Africa has been very much without competition. Now there will be stiff competition from domestic. And the domestic competition just adds a different dimension. They have a knowledge of the markets, they have a knowledge of the products, and obviously the international have the capital and they have the wherewithal. So there's going to be that kind of competition, and maybe we'll see partnerships, and maybe those partnerships will be the ones that perform the best. Across Africa has improved, I think, without a doubt. I think, you know, if you're talking about the East African region with all the new constitutions that have been written around the governance structure and particularly government itself, and even in Kenya now the devolution, where we're going down into counties and devolving the government across the country. So all of these improve the governance. It's costly, it causes problems, it's difficult to implement. And that's the journey we're on, but in the end the benefit will come out of the efforts that are being made. I think the only point I would like to make is that you can't cherry pick in Africa. You don't come in and say everything must be safe and I must get profit and I must leave with my profit. If you're coming into the African continent, what are you bringing? How are you benefiting the African continent? And is there a partnership that you bring something and benefit the African continent, and in return you get your profits and you benefit yourself? So I think there needs to be a mindset about cherry picking. At the moment, I think that Africa's on a cusp of opportunity, driven by its resilience, driven by its diversity, driven by its youth. And it's really whether our institutions and whether our governance improvement has been sufficient for us to really take advantage of that opportunity. I think also that we will lose some things and gain some things. And I think Africa shouldn't always focus on what they've lost, but also celebrate what they've gained.